Many people have said that the new Corvette is so advanced, it's so improved, but does it compete with the Ford GT? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Lauren Fix. If this is your first time to the channel, we cover more than supercars. We cover everyday drivers' first looks and give you great information so you can have car smarts. Make sure to subscribe and hit that little bell because knowledge is power and you don't want to miss anything. Many people have said that the new 2020 Corvette is so improved. It's so improved with the Z51 package that it actually competes with the Ford GT. Well, a lot of people call me Supercar Brunette. This is one of the vehicles from my collection, and I will tell you, having driven both many a miles, this is not even in the same category as the Corvette. The Ford GT is built by Multimatic in Canada, and we've done an actual interview with some of the people at Multimatic and a tour of the museum, which you can check out up here. Now, when it comes to the Corvette, this is a very impressive vehicle. And when I drove the coupe, you can check out our review on that, our His Turn, Her Turn with Paul Bryan, which we also did. You can check that there. I stated in the interview that this was one of the best vehicles that General Motors ever produced. And I'm still saying that is true when it comes to the 2020 Corvette. But competing with a vehicle like this, which is a purpose-built race car modified for the street, not like the early 05s, 06 GTs, those were street cars, modified for racing. This is a purpose-built race car. Underneath, the pinnings are very F1. This vehicle has a lot of impressive technology in the suspension. Magnetic ride. Of course, if you buy the Z51, you're going to get the better handling. You're going to get a little more performance. And we're going to go through it in all these different categories: performance, handling, safety, visibility, seating, technology, features, design, quality, value, and give you in the end a Car Coach Reports total so that you can compare this against other cars in the category based on its price point. Remember, if you load up this car, it's $102,000. But when you load up this car, you're well over $600,000. And if you can get one at that price, typically at auction, they're running closer to $1 million plus. So this car does not compete with this car. Not on the track, not on the road. They're different animals. The 6.2-liter V8 engine is the only engine that's available in here. There's supposed to be a hybrid coming down the road. We're hearing there might even be a Zora package. I'll let you know when that comes out because I plan to be at the launch and we'll do a live feed because everyone's going to want to know about that. You can buy the Z51. The extra exhaust package gives you 5 extra horsepower and 5 extra pound-feet of torque. It's not a lot, but I would buy it because 5 is 5 more than you didn't have. Total weight on this vehicle is 3,637 pounds. 0 to 60 times are 2.9 seconds, and that's pretty impressive. Remember that the convertible weighs just a touch more than the hardtop. Top speed is limited on this vehicle at 194 miles an hour, but I hope you won't be doing that ever on the street. That is for the track, and most track events will not allow you to have the convertible on the track, so you might want to check with that before you get one of these and plan to put it on the track. They sometimes only accept hard tops, but this vehicle would be a blast daily driver on the track, and I don't know if I'd want to drive it during the winter, but it has been done. The engineers in Detroit have been testing through the winters, a couple of them actually. If you put snows on this vehicle, not the Michelin tires that are on it, I think you're going to be really impressed with what it offers. Driving it in track mode on the street just makes the exhaust sound so yummy. I love the performance. The acceleration is excellent. And just driving this thing every day, it's a joy. And I see why they made this vehicle the way they did. It's very reasonable to drive every day. But like I said, when you're comparing it to a Ford GT, it's not a reasonable daily driver. And it is absolutely not a winter car in any way, shape, or form. And I don't think I'd want to drive the GT 500 in the winter either. One of the biggest negatives in this vehicle, and it's kind of sad, is there's no manual transmission. There are some of us that still like 3 pedals. Hopefully General Motors will listen and maybe offer that down the road. But when it comes to performance overall, the whole package, the technology involved in the performance of this big, monstrous motor, which I love, it gets a 9. So what does the 2020 Corvette compete against? Well, they say it competes against the 911. Many journalists have compared it against the 2020 Shelby GT 500. This is my car, and I will tell you, I've had it on the track. It does perform. We have reviewed this car, and you can check that out up here, and you'll see why I bought one. But this is a totally different animal. This is front engine, rear-wheel drive. This is a mid-engine car, and it is certainly completely different in its layout. And though the Mustang has compared with Corvette in the past, all the way back to the 60s, they really are different animals with different performance levels. Many have found, including myself, that the GT500 really performs better. When you're talking about 0 to 60 times in quarter mile, it changes between the Corvette and the Shelby. So these are more comparative vehicles. If you load both of these up with all the options, this is a golden ticket car. It has carbon fiber, painted stripes. Every performance option comes in at $102,000. So does the Corvette. When you load it up, it's a little bit more expensive in the convertible, but this is a really cool car. Let's take a closer look under the hood. Under the mid-engine trunk cover that has to be opened via remote, as if you're partially opening the convertible top, is a 6.2-liter V8. If you order the Z51 and the extra exhaust, you get an extra 5 horsepower at 495 horse, except you can't see the engine, which I think is one of the coolest things of the Corvette. But if you want the convertible, that top folds down right into here, and you won't be able to see the engine. And I think that's a personal choice. But remember, on the hard top, you can remove that target top and put it into the trunk area. Something to consider. The Z51 package that is optional on this vehicle is fabulous. To begin with, no matter what Corvette you buy, you have a smooth undercarriage for aerodynamics. This has excellent handling as a stock vehicle. Add that Z51 package with the magnetic ride, and it will change as you change drive modes. That turns a regular Corvette into a much more impressive piece, both on the track and on the street. Again, check with your favorite performance driving school before you decide to put one of these on the track. They may not let you, even though it's a hard top. By the way, it is quite quiet in here, considering the fact that I have the top up right now. We're going to put the top down in a minute, take some corners, but I want you to understand that this vehicle really handles well like a slot car. Let's put the top down, see how things go. Takes about 16 seconds. You can do it up to 30 miles an hour. I don't think that's necessary. I'd rather do it stopped at a traffic light. It just makes me feel better. It's going to get very loud in this car now. I just want you to be aware of that. Woo, messes up the hair, but that's okay. All right, I had to pull my hair back. I couldn't even see. There is a fly car mode, which makes this vehicle even handle quicker and react quicker because of the traction management that's in this car. It is electronic limited slip differential, and it will modify itself as needed to give you the best traction possible. It's a chilly day here in Buffalo, so everyone thinks I'm nuts driving around with the top down. But why not? It's just such a fabulous car. You really have to enjoy the experience. When it comes to handling, this car is a dream and earns a 9. 66 years of history with Corvette. September 1953, all the vehicles were white with red interiors. That's the way they came, and later they started modifying bigger motors, big monstrous motors into the 60s and 70s, and then things started changing with the next generation. Here's a piece of trivia. There was not a Corvette built in 1983, so if you do trivia classes, make sure to tell your friends, hey, what year did they not make a Corvette? 1983. Okay, let's launch this puppy. This is an industrial park. This is not on regular roads, and there are no buildings other than one that I own. Here we go. That's go power, and that's whoa power. Really impressive. One last time for the studio audience. Never leave me alone with a performance car. That's why one of my nicknames is Speedy. Okay, here we go. Wow, this thing lights up! How awesome. And it stops on a dime. I think General Motors did a great job in this car. I have owned many Corvettes over the years, as many of my family members have, and I've been very impressed. And there's no question they continue to perform. When you buy the 2LT package, you get an additional safety package, which I think should be standard. That is cross traffic alert and that blind spot alert. The reason I think that's important is there is a lot of blind spots in this car, and we'll talk about that in visibility. So when you're backing out of a parking spot, the last thing you need to deal with is some idiot who's also backing up and hits your Corvette, because you're going to get very angry, and I don't blame you. Part of the safety features that make a lot of sense for this vehicle are standard, except for I said those extra pieces that you can buy. Those should be included when you're driving a vehicle like this. Yes, it's going to be safe, but you know, it's still a sports car that goes fast, and sometimes people don't pay attention. They're looking at the car and not looking where they're going, or maybe you're distracted. So safety is a top priority. When it comes to safety on this car, it earns an 8. When you're looking at visibility, when the top is down, that's great. When you look in those side view mirrors with the top down or up, you see those big rear haunches because this has got a lot of backside on it, and that's fine. But one of the things you also need to know is, although you're sitting further forward than you are in previous Corvettes, there's still a lot of limitations. You put that top up and it's very limiting. Moving the top up takes about 16 seconds. You can do that up to 30 miles an hour. And now you've got really limited vision. I mean, looking out the rear view mirror, you don't see much. You need to use those side mirrors. It'd be nice if they had the rear view camera built in. But when you're looking at visibility, that is one of the biggest negatives of this car, and it's such a shame because you can't have everything. I understand that. So when it comes to visibility, it earned a 5. Our test vehicle has the GT2 bucket seats, which are really comfortable. They have a built-in lumbar. There are some adjustments that are down on the side, which is important, both driver and passenger side. One of the things about seating comfort that I like is I love these yellow seat belts. Just a big fan, and the fact that it matches the exterior color is pretty cool. They are not adjustable height. You should keep that in mind, but you can pick the color you want. The GT2 bucket seats are full power, plus there's 4-way lumbar. They are heated, they are ventilated, and I think that's great because these are really comfortable. There's also adjustable side bolsters, and that's really important, especially if you're going to put it on a track. Our particular vehicle has Alcantara, which is almost like a suede material, and it keeps you planted in the seat. I have that in one of my vehicles as well, and I really like it when you're on the track because it keeps you stuck to the seat. When it comes to seating comfort overall, I'm really impressed, and it earns an 8. Starting with the center screen, there's a button here that you press to go right to the home page. You've got your audio, phone, navigation, which I think is kind of dated actually. You'll look at some of the navigation, it's a bit dated there, which is a shame because I think that there's so much cool stuff in this car. You get your users, your settings, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Wi-Fi hotspot, which is a standard pretty much with General Motors vehicles. You've got your apps, your OnStar. This is your precision driving information. And then, of course, you got climate. Let's get to that. It says performance data recorder. And this is some pretty cool stuff. You can get a video overlay if you're going to go on the track. You can start recording, and then you get your lap timer as well. It requires an SD card, which is put in on the passenger side down on the ground. Really easy to use, but then you've got your different recordings. So if somebody used this before, let's see if it's still there and they didn't clean it out. It looks like they cleaned it out. But you also have your different settings. You could have an audio recording, an automatic recording, video recording quality. I don't know why you'd want that on low. You'd want that on high. In my book, you'd want to go 1080p, just like we're shooting everything else these days. And then other than that, you've got your different software. But this gives you an idea of some of the technology that's in this car, and that's pretty cool. When you're looking at technology as itself, there's a lot even on the center screen. On the center screen, you've got some information that you might want: your current drive cycle, your trip timer, your fuel economy. And again, the fuel economy is about 19 miles to the gallon combined, 15 city, 27 highway. All depends on how you're driving. Your different trips, and you can set different things and clear that out. Current drive cycles. That's kind of interesting. Over on the left side, you've got just your usual for cruise control. This is the button that I like right there, that Z button. When you press this button, did you hear the sound of the exhaust change? So do all the gauges. Watch the gauges. Regular, the Z. And then there's also changing in the different modes. If you can see my mode, we'll change it. There's winter, there's touring, your regular sport mode, your track mode, which is again hitting that Z button changes all that. It also changes all these configurations, as you can see, and I love the carbon. Overall, when you're looking at technology, you did a great job. There's a lot of information here. Again, there's not much to compete against this. Maybe Porsche, maybe what the Shelby's offering, but overall, Corvette stands alone. It always has. When it comes to technology, I know there's a lot in the suspension. I know there's a lot in the engine, but overall, the technology of this vehicle earns an 8. Now you're looking at features of this Corvette. I do like the new logo. I think that Z button is pretty cool, like we talked about in technology. And of course, you can adjust your favorites for your audio system and your volume. And you've also got your heated steering wheel, your voice commands, your phone setup, and then of course changing all those buttons right in front of you. One of the things that GM said they wanted to be first was the flat top and bottom steering wheel. They were beat out by Ford GT. This is a very personal choice. A lot of people do not like the square bottom, square top steering wheel. I think it's kind of cool. It's a little bit awkward. It's not perfectly clean. I do love the Alcantara material, so the materials are great, and we'll talk about that in quality. Going over to the doors, you've got all your controls. You got your head-up display buttons right there, easy to use. And this is the one thing that I'll talk about in quality. This is how you adjust the vents. Not really, like this is almost kind of cheesy, which is a shame, but it's not big when it comes to features. Real stitching, real leather, real carbon fiber. That is real carbon fiber. Love that. Of course, if you say, well, I wanted a manual transmission, it's not a feature that's available. You've got your paddle shift. Here is your negative and your positive, your paddle shift. You got all your controls here if you need those. Your gauges are here. Everything easy to read, easy to figure out, really simple. Going over to your center stack, this has been very polarizing, the fact that it's quite a distance back from where the steering wheel is. Some people don't like that, and again, one of those cheesy little vent things. Then you go down to the shifter mechanism. This is your automatic shifter mechanism. You can override that by going to the manual mode right there, or you can use the paddle shift. Love the carbon fiber. You change your drive modes here. So when you turn that button, you can hear the tone of the exhaust change, those nice quad exhaust. We'll talk about that in design, in the track mode. And then when you go back, that's as far as you go this way, you've got sport, you've got touring, you've even got a wet mode and a personal mode. And the wet mode is great, actually. Like I said in handling, I drove this thing in some pretty heavy duty rain. You've got all your controls here. You can press your home button. It's an actual button. You can pick your apps if you want apps. There's OnStar, which I think is one of the best on the available. In addition to that, you've got, of course, your cameras. You can press your camera, and you can see what's going on around you. Pick your different settings. That's all part of safety as well. Some people like to know what's going on around them, especially you don't want to hit this thing, and has the ability to lift the front of the car up. There's that Honda we're going to be reviewing next. But that's some of the things, some of the different settings that you may or may not want. Going over here, this is very polarizing. This is the whole design area where a lot of people weren't so thrilled. But you know what? You do get used to it. This is the climate control for the driver's side. You get your heated and cooled seats, the ability to sync, your automatic, all of your climate adjustments, your fan. You can shut it off, your AC, and AC Max, rear defogger, heated rear seats for the passenger, and their temperature. You also have a little cup holder here, which is nice, a little cover to put on top, real leather, nice materials. They did a great job on that as well. The vents on the passenger side are part of that same design, more carbon fiber, and that absolutely fabulous Bose Performance audio. And I'll be honest with you, the audio system comes out the tailpipe. I don't care what they put in here for a sound system. This car sounds amazing. Going over to the center console, if you're looking here, I just got a bunch of junk in there, including the keys, more charging ports. And then if you go to the back, you've got your wireless charging here, and you've got that Stingray right there for the rear speaker. And your rear glass actually has heating in it so that you can see. Again, there is a lot of limitations, as we talked about, but the seats. I do love the seats, the optional yellow belts. These seats are the GT2 buckets. Really comfortable, like I talked about, and you can get different seats. It all depends on what you're looking for, but overall this is pretty cool. And when it comes to features, what's available, it earned an 8. When Zora Arkus Duntop, who is the father of the Corvette, developed and designed the Corvette, he wanted it to be mid-engine. General Motors said no, it's got to be front-engine rear-wheel drive. That's where they were experienced. And this is the first mid-engine car from General Motors. We've discussed that quite deeply in our regular Corvette Coupe review. When you're looking at the convertible, this is the same sexy lines. Very, very futuristic, almost Ferrari-esque. Some people say it almost has a Ferrari Enzo look to it. Love the pointed nose, the GM flags. This is very comforting to most Corvette people. I love the aggressive look. If you are an older Stingray enthusiast, you might get frustrated, but this is the new Stingray design. I really think they did a great job. When you look under the front area called the frunk, there is a little bit of storage here. We'll talk about that in value, but it's deep enough that you can put a soft bag, a laptop case, or maybe just something to go on a quick flight on your private plane. All the 2020 Corvettes are completely customizable. You can configure it any way you want. This particular rim and wheel combination comes with Michelin tires. I'm really impressed with the 19-inch tires. These are Pilot Sports. Again, you can get stickier tires, bigger rims. Depends what you're looking for. Going further back, you see that Stingray look. They've continued the design of the original early Stingray, but then they have these really cool, artistic, exotic pieces that make this Corvette stand out in the crowd, along with all the different colors. Looking at the design, it is bigger in back, where in the past you would see a huge front area and you sat further back. This is a mid-engine car, which means the engine is in the middle. That means a 50-50 balance, which makes why we discussed it handles so much better. For the convertible, again, you do not have access to seeing the engine, which you do see in the hardtop. A little frustrating to me because I think that's part of the coolness of this vehicle. But again, that's a personal choice. You gain some, you lose some, you can't have everything. Going further back, you'll notice there are 20-inch rims in the back, 19-inch in the front. That's the setup that was delivered to us. You can pick out different wheels and tire combinations. Love the wing in back. I would like to see it in carbon fiber, but overall, these are pretty cool design cues. I love the LED taillights and how they run, along with this cool wing, well integrated in that cool LED. 4 square exhaust tubes. These are dual exhaust. I'm not sure I like the square, although I did like the 3 tubes previously in the other Corvette. The rear diffuser would be really cool in carbon. Again, I start adding up the price and it ends up being $100,000 easily. Do you need it? No, it looks great. And having this differentiation in color is good too. If it was all one color, it would get lost in the mix. Love the Corvette original design logo. You're seeing that continuing from this C7 generation. When you're looking at design as a whole, it absolutely deserves a 10. When you're looking at the design of the 2020 Corvette convertible, I think they did a really nice job. Going with a hard top versus the soft top makes it quieter inside, and you can use it year round. But all the materials, both inside and out, are what impressed me. The fit, the finish, the materials, the paint quality is great considering some of the new paints that I've seen on daily driver vehicles are not so great, lots of orange peel. This was really well done. All the materials are real carbon, real materials, real stitching. There wasn't plastic, there wasn't a lot of junk. The only thing I really wasn't thrilled with was on the vents and how they moved. Seemed a little bit cheap to me, but when you're really looking at this vehicle, this is the best vehicle General Motors has ever made. Both fit and finish and performance and handling, how well it was thought out. Really impressive, and there is no question in my mind that for quality, it earns a 10. Around the back, there is a trunk just like there is in the front. The front trunk and the rear combined is about 13 cubic feet of storage, which is actually a lot, probably more than like a Honda Civic Coupe. You can easily get 2 full sets of clubs here and some small luggage. It's soft in the front. Overall, it's not really meant to be a regular daily driver, but you could if you want to go to the golf course. When you're looking at the total value of this vehicle, it starts in that $66,000 range for the convertible. It's $7,500 more for the convertible. You add in that Z51 package and magnetic ride and all the carbon fiber inlays, the custom seats. Our test vehicle came in at $89,500. But what you're getting for your money is a lot. I mean, this vehicle's pretty well loaded. Unlike the Shelby GT500 where you load it up, it's $102,000. This vehicle came in at $89,500. And what you're getting for your money is an excellent value, and it earned a 10 for value. After driving the 2020 Corvette convertible for a week, we tested it in all different areas. It was a lot of fun. Got a lot of people stopping us, including people with exotic cars such as McLarens and Ferraris, to ask us about this vehicle, most likely because of this, as I call it, tennis ball yellow or highlighter yellow. It really stood out in the crowd and was very impressive. Considering all 10 categories together, when you're looking at the performance and the handling and what you're getting for your money, it really is a great value. And I can't actually put my nose up at this vehicle at all. A few areas that would be nice to be improved, but you can't. If you want this cool looking vehicle, it's going to have some limitations. And owning any supercar has its limitations. And we all kind of know that if you own one. But if you're in the market for a Corvette convertible, you can get into one of these fun cars into that mid $60,000 range. That may seem like a lot of money, But for a performance car at this level, it is an excellent value. It got a total score of 85, and although the GT500 and the Ford GT are not direct competitors, they're all three very awesome vehicles and each stand alone within their own category. If you own a Corvette, if you're an old Corvette fan, my father's owned Corvettes forever, I've owned Corvettes over the years, you're going to be a true enthusiast. Even though it doesn't offer a manual transmission, don't be disappointed. That dual clutch transmission shifts faster than any of us can shift, and it's impressive. When you're looking at a vehicle like this, you want to join all those forums, talk to other people that are enthusiasts. We like to start that conversation down below with comments. Do you own a 2020? Would you buy one? Would you never buy one because it doesn't offer a manual transmission? Do you love this car? What do you think of this color? I think it's pretty freaking hot. Love to hear your comments down below. Don't forget to follow us on all forms of social media. If you got value from this video, I'd love to get your input. Make sure to like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Also, if you're looking for more car smarts, check out the link to my book below, Lauren Fix's Guide to Loving Your Car, and our new website, which includes in English and in Spanish some really cool content you won't find anywhere else. We look forward to hearing what you think, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.